So let's do this, all right? Okay, so dictionaries. They're basically, the way you can think about dictionaries is that they're a collection of key value pairs that allow you to search up for some value based on some key. So you can think of that like a phone book. If I wanted to find, or maybe in your own like smartphone, your contacts list, right? If I wanted to find, let's say, information such as someone's phone number associated with someone's name, I will look up their name, and then top, I'll get a phone number associated with that. So in that case, the name would be the key, and the value would be the phone number. Now, of course, I could get more than just a phone number from a name. I could have email address, their actual address, maybe their Facebook contact details, right? And all of that is associated with that one key. So in the same way, a dictionary has key value pairs, where a key is paired up with a value, and the value can be anything really. It can be a collection of things, it could be like a list of things, it could be a tuple. But the thing about your keys need to be immutable objects. So what are immutable objects? Objects that don't change. The ones that you know are like integer, any kind of numbers, strings are immutable objects, tuples are immutable objects. And the reason why they want it to be that way is because then it makes the dictionaries much more efficient, because they can be like, yes, I know this will always be associated with this value, I can always look for it. So in this case, we're going to go through a simple example using your lecturers' names and their room numbers. Now, if I wanted to instantiate or create a dictionary, there are two ways to do it. You can write a DICT with the round brackets that creates a dictionary, or you can use curly braces. That's how we deal with dictionaries. For lists, it was square braces, but for dictionaries, we're using curly braces. So if I wanted to explicitly write out a dictionary, I'll go dictionary name, room dictionary, as assigned my dictionary. I open my curly braces, and then I have different key value pairs separated by commas. And what I would do is key, colon, value. So my key here is and colon 413, which is the value per room number, comma, the next key value pair, key, which is Angela, colon, value, which is 414. Adriana, colon, 414, key value pairs. And then I close my curly braces. So that dictionary at the moment has 3 key value pairs. And something that you can know is that dictionaries have a length, so you can call like a length function on them. But just because I made the dictionary like this, where it's Anne 413, then Angela 414, Adriana 411, it doesn't mean that that Python will store the dictionary. It will not store the key value pairs in that order. The way that it decides to store the key value pairs depends on some math that you'll learn in another course, COMPSCI 105. But you just need to remember that a dictionary doesn't store the key value pairs in the order that you put them in. So you can't guarantee that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But of course you want to know, how am I going to add values, how am I going to change values? So there's no append, there's no concatenation, it's just like this. Dictionary name, square brackets, put your key that you want to add or change, so close your square brackets, and then assign some value. So here we got room dictionary. I'm going to add Damir, some square brackets, and I'm going to put Damir as the key in there, and I'm going to assign it 411. So what would happen then is it would look at it would actually change my dictionary and create a new some more stuff. So I'll do it in loop to make it easier. So Damir, colon, and then 411. That would close. So that's what would happen inside, right? Now, it doesn't matter if the values are the same, but the keys obviously can't be the same. Because if I were to do that, room dictionary, square bracket Adriana, close my square bracket, assign something, what that would do is it would overwrite or change whatever value was associated with that key. So I'll look at Adriana. At first it was 411, but once I run this line of code, it changes 411 to 415. And that's how you would do it. Remember, dictionary name, square bracket your key, assign some value. Now, if I wanted to access the value, right? Like say, if you wanted to access an element in a list, you would go list name, square bracket, index, close your square bracket. With dictionaries, it's very similar. You go dictionary name, square bracket your key, close your square bracket, and that will give you the corresponding value. But you need to be careful. If you are trying to look for a key that is not inside your dictionary, you will get an error. So that's why for this line of code, what I want to do is I want to check and see if this key here, Paul, is inside my dictionary. Once I check to see that it's in there or not, let's say Paul was actually in there. In this case, it's not, so we'll just skip. If Paul was in there, I would go print. I'll go room dictionary square bracket key, and it'll give me the corresponding value, some room number, maybe 500 or 511 or whatever. But if I didn't have this check here, and I tried to run this print statement, I will get an error because the key does not exist. You'll get something that says like key error. It'll tell you exactly what key it's trying to look for. So that's how you deal with accessing and printing and changing out values for keys. Now, if I wanted to go through a dictionary, I can do that like any other list or any other string, right? I can look through strings and lists by using a for loop. But here is what it actually means when you use your for something in something, right? When I go for person in room dictionary, like that, what I'm actually doing is I'm going for key in my dictionary. And then when I print, I'm printing person, which is the key, comma, is in room, and then room dictionary, square bracket, person. Remember, that's just how I access the value. Room dictionary, square bracket, my key will just give me the associated value. So if I went through that, it will give me something like, maybe Damir is in room 411, Angela is in room 414, Adriana is in room 415, so on and so on. Again, we can't guarantee the order because of how the math works in the Python, whatever, computer stuff. But I can also do it another way. I don't have to just go for key in room dictionary, because I usually do it like that. But you can also iterate through tuples. For person, comma, room in room dictionary dot items. So this here, what I'm doing is calling the dot items method on the dictionary, and what that will give me is a whole bunch of key and value pairs. So because it returns tuples at a time, it will basically assign this first guy here to the key, and this second guy here to the value. So essentially what you're writing is for key, comma, value in dictionary.items will give you what you need. So therefore, when I write the code, I can write it prettier, although you don't need to. I can go print person, comma, is in room, comma, room, which basically means key is in room, value. And that will do exactly the same thing as this loop up here. So it depends on which one you want to do. I prefer using this because it's much more straightforward. This is prettier, but that's up to you. All right. Again, with the methods that we talked about dot items. That's how you get key value pairs. So it'll give you like a bunch of tuples that have key and then a value associated with it. You can also access all of the values if you want with dot values with your brackets. You can also access all of the keys that you want by using dot keys with the brackets. A short aside, you can also delete items from a dictionary using the del function. You just go del and then open your circle brackets. Dictionary name, square bracket, key, close your square bracket. You have to do the same thing as before. Just need to check and see if that key is actually inside the dictionary. You won't have to do this in this lab, but it will be helpful maybe. Now, why is it helpful to access your keys? Well, like I said before, you can't guarantee what order the dictionary will put your key values in. But if I were to somehow retrieve all those keys and then sorted them, that would be really helpful. But when I call the .keys method on the dictionary, it doesn't give me back a list. It gives me this dict_keys object, which I need to then convert into a list. So here is an example of how you might print something in order. I would need to, let's say, get a list, right? So I'm going to do some person list as a sign Now on this side of the equation, what it's saying is, I'm going to call the .keys method on my dictionary. So it's going to give me this object with lots of keys. But I still need to convert that into a list, which is why I go list, circle brackets around that, and that converts it into a list. So great, now I've got a list of keys. Now I can start using list methods. I can go person list dot sort. Great, now my list is sorted. And then I can just go, well, because it's a list of keys, I can treat it as such. For person in person list, so it's kind of like a key in this keys list, I'm going to print the person is in room dictionary person. Now this, if you can see, this line of code is pretty much exactly the same as this bunch of code here, but because we've taken the time to extract the keys and then turn it into a list and then sort it, it will basically just print it out in ascending order, in alphabetical order. Alphabetical order, that's right. Cool. All right, is there any questions that you guys have on anything here to do with dictionaries, accessing values, changing values? Cool. All right. Now, we're going to go through this example here, and it should help you quite a bit with your assignments today. All right. I'm going to create some function, define word analysis, which takes some sentence, which we're going to use to be or not to be. Cool. What's it going to do? It's going to assign something to a dictionary, a variable. It's probably going to be a dictionary. So, okay, this function here says create words dictionary with that same sentence. Let's go to this function then. Before we go there though, what we can see is that it's doing something like printing out a title, and then it's going word count in items. Cool. It's printing something that looks like a word occurred this many times. Okay, going to get some counts, right? How am I going to do that? Well, let's look at this this function here. So create a words dictionary with sentence. Cool. So if I'm going to create a dictionary, same like if I'm going to create a list, I probably want to start with an empty dictionary. So I'm going to do that. Words dictionary is assign an empty dictionary. Again, curly braces will do the job. Now, if I'm given a string full of words, it might be easier for me to work through them as a list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go words list. I'm assigning that sentence.split, same as usual. Splits at every white space. So I'm going to get in my list to be or not to be. Cool. And now, I'm going to loop through that. For word in words list, right? I want to go through each word in this list. What am I going to do? So, I want to basically create a dictionary where the key will be the word and the value will be how many times that word occurs in the sentence. So, with that, there are two cases which could arise, right? The first is that I have never seen this word before, so I've got to assign that and create that key value pair. The second case is that, oh, I have seen this word before, I'm going to change the value that's existing already. So what I'll do is, let's look at it this way. If the word is in the words dictionary, because I wanted my words to be the keys, this is exactly what I want. I want to write a condition which looks like if my key is inside my dictionary. So that's why I go if word in words dictionary. Now if it's already in there, I want to do something like add count to it. So dictionary name, key, plus equals 1. Words dictionary, square bracket word, plus equals 1. Now otherwise, the only other option is that the key is not in the dictionary, which means it's a new word, it's a new key. So if that's the case, I want to create a new key value pair. So words dictionary, square bracket word, which is just the key, and then assigning that 1. So if we look at our example here, what will happen is, let's go through the words. First is 2. I will then make some dictionary, right? So is 2 inside the dictionary. No, it's not. Go to the else statement. I'm going to create some key 2 and assign it 1. All right. Next word, B. B is not in there, so same thing. All right, next word, or. Or is not in there, same thing. Not in there, same thing. So it's always going to the else statement, right? Now when I come back to 2, you just have to be careful here. Your keys will be strings, right? So they'll be case sensitive. So because this is capital T0, capital T-O, and that is small t-O, it will actually be a different key. So that's something you need to take into account. If there's a capital letter that you're having as your key, but you're looking at something that's a lowercase letter, even if you wanted it to match, they may not actually be matching. So you might have to do some changing there. If I wanted it to be like really just the words, no worrying about the case, then maybe I should capitalize all of my words or upper all my words, right? But otherwise, I go to the next word, which is B. Oh, B is already in there, so if B in word dictionary, it is. I'm going to plus equals 1. So 1 plus equals 1 is actually 2. And that will be my dictionary finished. And I'll return that here, goes through here, and then as we learned before about how we go through dictionaries for word, count in words dictionary.items, I'm going to just print the word occurred count times. And that will give me basically this guy, but in some random order. Okay, any questions on that?
So guys, if you don't understand this part of the code, please actually ask, because in your exercise you're actually going to do something similar to that, but not exactly like that. So it's good if you have the idea of what's happening there, but please in your exercise just don't copy it straight away. Yeah, I think that's about it.
It's a helpful guide, but it won't. There's a little bit of a nuance and different thing that you need to do with your assignment. But otherwise, no questions? Cool. Let's go to the